Hello, all. This is Dr. Dave Maslach talking about reciprocity.com. The E is spelled with a 3. I'm a professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I'm trying to create the sharing economy proofreading platform so that you can get the feedback that you desire in order to be amazing and prolific as a writer and a scholar. So what I'm going to do in this particular video, I really wanted to talk about the top 10 business podcasts for tech entrepreneurs in 2018, believe it or not. We're getting into that. And really what this is, these are all the different podcasts that I listen to, so it might be not inclusive, but I am an avid podcast listener. I've been listening to them probably for the last 10 years, and I have a pretty good feel of what's great in terms of podcasting and things that add value to my life. And I have not only 10, but I have actually a bonus one that I think is a rising star and is becoming better as we speak. So the first one is EconTalk. This is a great podcast done by Russ Roberts. It's been going on for years and years and years. And originally it was interviewing different economists. Like you can go back and get some economists, actually, some of these economists have actually passed away. Like Milton Friedman, for example, a really cool podcast. You can listen to those. Lately, it's kind of been changing. I think he's been changing and been focusing more on sort of the practitioner audience, which is okay. And so sometimes it's some of the stuff, the interviewees it's kind of mixed at this point. But every once in a while, you do get a nugget there. Freakonomics, always really good podcasts there, really good, super interesting podcasts that I like. They go into sort of an economic point of view. It's sort of a University of Chicago style econ perspective, and where we look at the world and we think that things are a lot more different than what they truly are. It's really fun to listen to that. Third one, How I Built This. Love that one. It's slowly becoming one of my favorites, and I always am jumping to listen to that. So it's a NPR podcast where they talk to, so it's Guy Raz, that he talks to different entrepreneurs that have become successful in one way or the other and ask them their advice. So problem is, I really love this, and the stories are really often interesting. Problem is that there's a problem to what he's doing in terms of generalizing from this perspective. It's called sampling on the dependent variable, and you get a biased sample on that, but the bias sample is really interesting. It's a statistical problem that you get. So I wouldn't really take a lot of the advice that you hear, and really run with it, but it's pretty good. So number 4, Marketplace, great sort of current events, news, business news type podcast. I listen to it all the time, get some insights. Sometimes it gets a little bit overwhelming, but in general, it's pretty good. 5 is my favorite by far, Planet Money. I love Planet Money. I've loved it for years now. Right now they're doing a series. So this is just in December of 2017. So right now they're doing a series on the science or the business of space travel. Super interesting. They also had a series on the business of the t-shirt in the t-shirt industry. That was by far one of the best I've ever heard. In general, it just kind of keeps blowing me away that they have come up with these great ideas. Highly, highly recommend that one. Number 6 is Startup. That is a great podcast. It started off as really cool as a spinoff of This American Life. And this feller actually went and started his own podcast company. It's all about sort of really meta. It's a podcast about creating your own podcast company. Super interesting, especially if you haven't listened to it, start from podcast 1 and listen all the way through. You'll be totally hooked. I love it. It's a really, really cool podcast. After that, there's The Pitch. That's number 7. The Pitch is really good. It's from the same podcast company that Startup started, so it turned it into Gimlet, and it's all about pitching investors. And what I love about it is you get the feeling of why it's so difficult to actually get VC financing, and it's really, really mixed and really tough to do. And often I just, I don't recommend going that route unless you're really, really stable and you're really well proven to go get VC financing. It's just so tricky to get VC financing. There's so many sort of little things along the way. The next one, 8, is definitely my favorite. My wife's and I got my wife listening to this, and it's really not only helped out our marriage, but it really helped out with our own personal finances. Dave Ramsey. You definitely should look at this. Oddly enough, it helped out our marriage in the sense that we got more on the same page with financing and stuff like that. And it's been rocking and rolling since we started going and listening aggressively to Dave Ramsey. Highly recommend it. Number 9, Tim Ferriss. Tim Ferriss, really cool guy. Wrote the book, The 4-Hour Workweek. You can look at it. It's kind of all about hacks and tips and tricks within the business world. Definitely check it out. But sometimes there's a lot of mix and a lot of fluff that happens in that podcast. So for every 5 podcasts that you're going to listen to, one of them is going to be really interesting or remotely interesting. And then for probably every 20 podcasts that you're going to listen to, one of them is going to be amazing. So just to let you know, and some of the stuff is a little bit out there, a little bit wonky in terms of his recommendations. And a lot of them I wouldn't recommend. Some of the advice I wouldn't recommend, just because it's sampling. Again, he's sampling on the dependent variable because he's asking the elite people in any particular field and how they got to one particular location. So you're going to get sort of weird and wacky results when you do that. It's a real problem, actually, and it's a problem we recognize in the business schools. So number 10 I like is Malcolm Gladwell. He's just a revisionist history. He's just great writer and great storyteller. And 11, that's the bonus one, right? And the only reason I'm recommending this is because this particular podcast is kind of a rising star. I think it's going to get better, and sometimes the advice is mixed, but often it's really good and it's super interesting to listen to. And this is Miles Beckler. And he's this guy who started out as a YouTube channel and just kind of started putting things out there. And he's all about creating a authority website and, just being really cool and really amazing how you actually start something out and you could follow along. And I'm actually following the advice from the videos I watched there. And it does starting to work. It's slow and steady. And that's kind of what the advice he gives. So the advice I actually like is just slow and steady. And anybody that does the sort of slow and steady thing, I'm a big fan, because that's really how the world works, and talks about the slow and steady of building any particular thing. So that's it. Those are my 10 plus bonus top business podcasts for 2018. These are really good ones. Highly recommend them. They're all in. I just put them in the show notes. You can click on it. You can go to those different podcasts. And that's it. So thank you so much for listening, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next video. Bye.